You know, usually when we think about physical property, the lines are just incredibly clear.
Oh, absolutely. It's black and white.
Right, like
Yeah.
you own a car, someone takes the car, and, well, the car is gone. You immediately know something went wrong.
Yeah. You walk outside and there's an empty driveway.
Exactly. But the moment you step into the world of digital creation, specifically in this modern era of artificial intelligence, that whole empty driveway concept just completely shatters.
It really does. It's totally gone.
We are looking at a landscape of ownership that is essentially invisible.
Mm-hmm.
And, this directly impacts you, the listener.
Yeah, everyone making anything online.
Right. Whether you are writing a weekly newsletter, recording a podcast, or, I don't know, just sharing professional insights on LinkedIn, you are generating intellectual property.
Real value.
But what actually happens to those ideas the exact moment they hit the open internet?
I mean, that is the defining question for anyone sharing knowledge today. Pressing publish fundamentally changes your relationship with your own ideas.
Yeah.
And the mechanics of that change are, there's something most people just don't fully comprehend yet.
Which is exactly our mission for this deep dive. Today, we are exploring the, honestly, very controversial intersection of artificial intelligence, content scraping, and intellectual property.
It's a huge topic.
It is. And we are pulling our insights today from a transcript by a creator named Kary Oberbrunner.
Right, Kary.
Yeah, Kary is a self-described podcasting OG, like an original gangster in the space, who has been hosting his show for over a decade now.
A long time in internet years.
Seriously. And he's also the founder of a company called Instant IP, which means he's looking at this from, a couple of different angles.
Right, he has a highly specific vantage point.
Yeah.
He's a creator who has actually felt the ground shift beneath his feet over the last 10 years. And because of that, he's developed a pretty stark warning about what he calls AI content theft.
And our goal today is to unpack that warning. We are going to analyze a real rigid example he shares of his own intellectual property being hijacked.
Which is a crazy story.
It really is.
Yeah.
And then we're going to examine his proposed framework for protecting digital content before it gets swallowed by the machine.
Because before we can talk about how to protect our ideas, we kind of have to establish why they need protecting in the first place.
Exactly. Like, how is this invisible heist actually happening?
Right.
Because Kary makes some very direct claims about the operations of AI here. He states that AI companies are actively scraping and transcribing public podcasts to train their machine learning models.
And their speech recognition systems, yeah.
Yeah.
And from his perspective, it's an undeniable reality. Like, the exact moment a podcast or really any piece of content goes public, it is actively training AI.
It's wild to think about.
It is.
Yeah.
And to understand how this works technically, you really have to look at the distribution infrastructure we all use.
What do you mean?
Well, podcasters and writers, they want an audience, so they distribute their work via RSS feeds or public web pages.
Right. You want people to find it easily.
Exactly. But these are basically open doors. And AI companies use automated web crawlers that just, they walk right through those open doors.
Just invite themselves in?
Pretty much. They pull the MP3 audio files, run them through these highly advanced speech-to-text models, and suddenly thousands of hours of your spoken word are transformed into this massive text data set.
And Kary goes a step further than just calling it training, right? Like, he explicitly says that it is stealing your IP.
He doesn't mince words.
No, he doesn't. He says the AI takes this data, puts it into its models, and then cranks it out as new outputs for other users.
Right.
Okay, let's unpack this because I want to try to visualize the actual mechanism here. It's not like a robot copying a textbook page for page,
No, it's much more abstract than that.
It feels more like a massive digital blender.
Well, that's a good way to look at it.
Right, like baking a unique pie, leaving it on your windowsill, and a robot comes by, tastes it, patents the recipe, and suddenly you are legally banned from baking your own pie.
That's a great analogy.
The AI takes thousands of unique recipes, your specific thoughts, your phrasing, and it blends them down into base ingredients.
Which in AI terms are called tokens.
Right, tokens. And then it reconstitutes them into a smoothie for a user who has absolutely no idea whose ingredients they're drinking.
The blender analogy is a really highly accurate way to look at tokenization.
Is it?
Yeah, because a large language model isn't storing a perfect MP3 recording of your podcast on a hard drive somewhere.
Right, that would be way too much data anyway.
Exactly. It's breaking your sentences down into statistical relationships.
Okay.
It learns that when you talk about concept A, you often follow it with concept B. The machine maps the vector space of your intellectual labor.
The vector space. That sounds so sci-fi.
It does, but it's just math. Then a completely separate user comes along and types a prompt into that AI.
Right.
That user is essentially pushing the blend button.
Mm.
The AI pours out an output based heavily on your scraped recipe, and the user then takes that output and claims it as their own original intellectual property.
And Kary points out that these users often then legally protect that output.
Yeah, that's where it gets really messy.
They publish it, maybe even trademark or copyright the resulting book or article, which effectively locks the original creator out.
Yes.
The person who actually came up with the framework or the thought is now locked out of their own ideas.
And when you analyze this from an impartial standpoint, regardless of where you stand on the ethics of AI companies scraping public data, the practical reality is just this massive legal and creative gray area.
It's the Wild West.
Truly. Because the shift from AI learning to users claiming AI outputs as original IP, it means the chain of custody for an idea is completely broken.
The chain of custody, right.
Historically, if someone plagiarized your work, you could just compare the two texts side by side and see the direct theft.
Right, like, oh, you copied my paragraph.
Exactly. But now, the AI acts as a laundering mechanism.
Laundering mechanism, wow.
Yeah, you no longer know where the thought originated, which makes it incredibly difficult to prove that the foundational idea was yours to begin with.
So you put your expertise out into the world to build your brand, and the very act of sharing it strips you of your ownership.
That's the paradox, yeah.
And that broken chain of custody isn't just theoretical for Kary. He actually watched this exact scenario play out with his own TEDx talk.
Which is just a nightmare scenario for a creator.
It really is, and it moves us from this sort of abstract tech problem to a very tangible, real-world case study.
Right.
Kary shares that his talk was on YouTube, and it was scraped and used to train AI.
And we really have to look at what is actually being extracted in a scenario like a TEDx talk.
Right, because it's not just the words.
No, it's not just the vocabulary. A successful talk relies on a very specific, painstakingly crafted structure.
For sure.
It has pacing, a unique framing of a problem, a novel solution. The AI crawlers ingest that structure. They map the logic of the entire argument.
And so, sometime later, another creator, someone completely unaffiliated with Kary, used an AI to help them write articles.
Right.
And the AI spat out Kary's stolen ideas, his specific framing and structure, which this creator then published under their own name.
It is just the perfect illustration of how seamless the extraction is.
It's terrifying.
The AI absorbed Kary's highly structured intellectual labor from a YouTube video and repackaged it perfectly for someone else's written article, basically erasing Kary from the equation entirely.
But Kary had actually protected his talk beforehand using his software Instant IP.
Which saved him.
It did. He sees his ideas out there in this published article. He has the digital proof of his original ownership, and he sends the publisher a cease and desist letter.
And the user pulled the content down within hours.
Within hours. Yeah.
The speed of that takedown really highlights the lack of conviction the publisher had in their own material.
Oh, that's a great point. But here's the crazy part. The user claimed complete innocence. They told Kary, look, I just use AI to write my articles. I didn't know it was yours.
They had no idea.
And Kary explicitly states in the transcript that he believes the person was innocent. He doesn't think this was, like, a malicious, calculated act of plagiarism.
Which completely reframes the traditional narrative of theft.
Yeah.
We are so accustomed to thinking of intellectual property theft as a deliberate, conscious act by a bad actor.
And this is where I have to wrestle with the terminology a bit.
Okay.
Like, is it still theft if the person publishing it had absolutely no idea the AI took it from someone else?
It's a tough question.
Right. Like, if I buy a watch from a guy in a dark alley and it turns out to be stolen, I didn't steal it, but I'm still holding stolen goods because, well, I should have known better.
Sure, the dark alley is a red flag.
Exactly. But in the digital space, the person didn't even know they were buying a watch.
Right.
They just asked a machine for the time, and the machine handed them someone else's Rolex.
That is a perfect way to put it. And what's fascinating here is that intention almost ceases to matter in terms of the outcome.
Right. The damage is done.
We now have this incredibly powerful middleman, the AI, that is effectively turning innocent everyday people into accidental plagiarists.
Accidental plagiarists.
Yeah, because the person writing the article thought they were just using a productivity tool to speed up their workflow.
And Kary thought he was just sharing a public speech to inspire people.
Exactly. The AI operates in the dark space between them, obfuscating the origin of the knowledge.
Accidental plagiarists.
Uh,
Man, you could be doing it right now. I could be doing it when I, draft an email or outline a project using an AI assistant.
oh, easily.
I might be leveraging someone else's life's work without ever even knowing their name.
And that underlying anxiety is exactly Kary's motivation for taking action here.
Makes sense.
He doesn't want to be locked out of his own IP, but equally importantly, he doesn't want people to be confused thinking they originated an idea when it was actually his.
Yeah, that would be incredibly frustrating.
He recognizes that the presence of this AI middleman forces creators to go on the defensive.
You have to.
You can no longer rely on the honor system, and you certainly can't assume that a public timestamp on a YouTube video is enough to protect you when the AI just strips all that metadata away during the training process anyway.
Right. So Kary built a highly specific workflow and software to lock his content down and address this exact vulnerability.
Yes, his framework.
He calls it a framework for protection, built around the 4 Ps and the 4 Cs.
I'll go through them.
Yeah, let's break down his timeline first, the 4 Ps. Step 1 is publish. In his case, that means recording the podcast or writing the content.
Makes sense.
Step 2, and he emphasizes doing this rapidly, is protect. Lock down the IP.
Right.
Step 3 is promote, where you actually market the material and get listeners' attention. And finally, step 4 is profit, where the audience eventually spends money with your business. Publish, protect, promote, profit.
Notice the sequence there and what it disrupts.
The protect part.
Yeah. Traditionally, creators publish and then immediately jump to promote.
Oh, for sure. You want to get it out there.
Right, they skip the protect phase entirely. The traditional mindset is that formal protection, like copyright registration, is too expensive, it's too slow, or requires a lawyer.
Or they just aren't even aware of the scraping risks to begin with.
Exactly. By inserting protect immediately after publish, Kary is treating digital audio as a tangible, hard asset before it even reaches the open market.
He actually goes back and protects his entire backlog of episodes, too.
All of them.
Every single one. He claims that following this specific pattern, publish, protect, promote, profit, creates what he calls the 4 Cs: clarity, confidence, credibility, and capital.
The mechanics of those 4 Cs are really worth unpacking, starting with clarity.
Okay.
When a creator adopts this framework, they are forced to define exactly what their core intellectual property is.
Oh, I see.
It removes the ambiguity of just, making content and turns into actual asset management.
That's a big shift in mindset. And then there's confidence, the psychological benefit.
Think about the current state of a modern creator. You spend 40 hours researching, writing, and recording, and there is this lingering dread that a machine will just absorb and regurgitate it without credit.
Yeah, that would drive me crazy.
Having a verifiable protection layer shifts the creator from a state of anxiety to a state of absolute empowerment. They can share freely because they know the foundation is secure.
And that plays right into credibility and capital.
Yep.
If you are the documented originator of a concept, your credibility in your industry is cemented. You aren't just joining a conversation, you started it.
Exactly.
And the capital part is obvious. If someone else patents your pie recipe, to use the earlier analogy, they make the money. If you protect it, you secure the revenue stream.
It's just good business.
It is. But this brings us to the part of Kary's framework where I really need you to help me understand the technical reality because I am genuinely confused here.
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Kary makes a massive claim about his software, Instant IP.
Okay.
He says that the major AI models, specifically naming Claude, ChatGPT, and Grok, know and respect Instant IP.
I see.
Yeah, he says in the transcript, tell me about Instant IP. Boom, there's Claude, there's ChatGPT, there's Grok. He claims these models recognize his software.
Right.
How on earth does a piece of indie software command respect from a multi-billion parameter AI model built by these massive tech conglomerates?
It sounds unlikely, I know.
Does the AI see an Instant IP tag and suddenly act like a polite dinner guest and back away? Like, I just don't understand how a single user can force OpenAI to respect their boundaries.
Yeah, it sounds like magic, but it really comes down to data structuring and machine-readable parameters.
Okay.
We have to separate the human concept of respect from the technical concept of compliance.
Ah, okay.
AI models don't have morals, obviously, but they do have scraping protocols. Historically, websites have used a file called robots.txt to tell search engine crawlers what they are allowed to index.
Right, but we know AI companies have famously ignored those robots.txt files or, just found workarounds to scrape the data anyway.
They absolutely have, which is why the protection has to evolve to the metadata and cryptographic level.
Cryptographic level.
Yeah. When Kary talks about instant IP providing a court-admissible document, he's talking about establishing an immutable paper trail.
Okay.
The software is likely hashing the content, creating a unique digital fingerprint of the audio or text file and timestamping it securely, perhaps leveraging blockchain technology or secure servers.
Okay, so it's less about the AI tipping its hat to you and more about planting a flag in the ground with an exact date, time, and digital signature that cannot be forged.
Precisely. If a piece of content is legally tagged and cryptographically stamped, it changes the risk calculation for the companies training the models.
Oh, that makes sense.
The major AI companies are facing mounting regulatory pressure and class action lawsuits regarding copyright infringement right now.
It's constantly in the news.
Exactly. So if an LLM ingests a file that has clear, machine-readable metadata asserting aggressive IP protection and providing an undeniable digital receipt of ownership, well, the AI's training filters can be programmed to flag or avoid that data just to limit liability.
That makes the court-admissible document claim make much more sense. He directs people to a specific URL in the transcript, instant.ip.today/court, saying, you can see court cases proving this system gives you a document to prove in a court of law that you were there first.
Right.
It is essentially a receipt for your brain's work.
Because when that accidental plagiarist uses an AI to write an article that sounds suspiciously like your TEDx talk,
Yeah.
you don't have to engage in a philosophical debate about who thought of it first. You don't have to hire forensics experts to examine server logs.
You just show the receipt.
You just produce the cryptographically secure, court-admissible document. You prove the exact second your idea existed in its finalized form. It shifts the entire burden of proof away from you and onto the person who used the AI.
It's the digital equivalent of that empty driveway we talked about at the beginning.
Exactly.
It takes the invisible theft of the digital age and makes it visible, documented, and actionable.
And Kary is incredibly passionate about this.
He is. His sign-off in the transcript is, be a soul on fire. Protect your podcast. It's valuable.
He clearly views digital output as a vital, hard asset that creators are currently leaving completely exposed to the elements.
Yeah.
The traditional systems of copyright, they were built for the printing press, not the digital blender.
That's so true.
Whether you use his specific software or adopt another method of verifiable timestamping, his fundamental argument is just that we have to wake up to the reality of how our data is being ingested.
So what does this all mean for you listening to this deep dive right now? It means that your digital output has tangible value.
Real value.
Whether you are writing emails for your small business, recording podcasts, or sharing deeply researched thoughts on a public forum, you are generating intellectual property. The era of just throwing ideas into the void and hoping for the best is over. Your ideas are the ingredients the machine uses to cook for everyone else.
Kary's framework, that deliberate pause between publishing and promoting to actually protect the work, it has to become a strategic consideration for anyone building a brand or a business today.
Definitely.
The chain of custody for human thought is fracturing under the weight of generative AI, and creators really have to take an active, defensive role in maintaining it.
We have transitioned from hoping our ideas go viral to worrying that they'll be quietly digested and regurgitated by a competitor.
It's a completely different landscape now.
But as we wrap up this deep dive, there's one final provocative thought I want to leave you with, something to mull over as you look at your own digital footprint.
Let's hear it.
We've just spent all this time talking about Kary's solution, right?
Yeah.
Lock it down, protect it, establish the machine-readable perimeter. But imagine a future where tools like Instant IP become the absolute global standard. What if every single creator on the internet suddenly locks down every thought, every audio file, every article, and every video behind court-admissible, AI-repelling legal protection?
Wow. You would end up with a fully walled-off internet.
Right.
The open exchange of information that built the web would just be heavily gated.
And if the human creators stop living their ideas out in the open, what happens to the future of artificial intelligence?
That is the million-dollar question.
Will these massive machine learning models eventually starve? Because if they run completely out of new, unprotected human creativity to learn from, they'll be forced to train on AI-generated data.
Which creates a massive feedback loop of degrading quality.
Exactly. It makes you wonder, What would a fully protected digital world actually look like for innovation? Keep that in mind next time you hit publish.